transport in North Korea is constrained by economic problems and government restrictions. Public transport predominates, and most of it is electrified. Restrictions on freedom of movement. Travel to North Korea is tightly controlled. The standard route to and from North Korea is by plane or train via Beijing, China. Transport directly to and from South Korea was possible on a limited scale from 2003 until 2008 when a road was opened. Freedom of movement in North Korea is also limited, as citizens are not allowed to move around freely inside the country. Roads, fuel constraints and the near absence of private automobiles have relegated road transportation to a secondary role. The road network was estimated to be around 31,200 kilometers in 1999, up from between 23,000 and 30,000 kilometers in 1990, of which only 1,717 kilometers, 7.5%, are paved. The rest are of dirt, crushed stone, or gravel, and are poorly maintained. However, the World Fact Book lists 25,554 kilometers of roads with only 724 kilometers paved as of 2006. There are three major multi-lane highways, a 200-kilometer expressway connecting Pyongyang and Wonsan on the east coast, a 43-kilometer expressway connecting Pyongyang and its port Nampo, and a 4-lane 100-kilometer motorway linking Pyongyang and Kaesong. The overwhelming majority of the estimated 264,000 vehicles in use in 1990 were for the military. Rural bus service connects all villages, and cities have bus and tram services. Since 1945–1946, there is right-hand traffic on roads. Unlike most countries, driving speeds are regulated by which lane a driver is in. The speed limits are 70 km per hour, 60 km per hour and 40 km per hour for the first, second, and third lanes from the left, respectively. Each lane is restricted to certain uses. The first lane is designated for senior officials. The third lane is for average citizens. Those in the third lane are not permitted to change lanes nor drive faster than the 40 km per hour limit. Automobile transportation is further restricted by a series of regulations. According to North Korean exile Kim Ji-ho, unless a driver receives a special permit, it is forbidden to drive alone. Other permits are a military mobilization permit, a certificate of driver training, a fuel validity document and a mechanical certificate. Although it drives on the right, North Korea has imported various used RHD vehicles from Japan, from tourist buses to Toyota Land Cruisers. Public transport. There is a mix of locally built and imported trolley buses and trams in the major urban centers of North Korea. Earlier fleets were obtained from Europe and China. Railways. The Korean State Railway is the only rail operator in North Korea. It has a network of over 6,000 kilometers of standard gauge and 400 kilometers of narrow gauge lines. As of 2007, over 5,400 kilometers of the standard gauge, along with 295.5 kilometers of the narrow gauge lines, are electrified. The narrow gauge segment runs in the Hareju Peninsula. Because of lack of maintenance on the rail infrastructure and vehicles, the travel time by rail is increasing. It has been reported that the 190 km trip from Pyongyang to Kaesong can take up to 6 hours. Water transport. Water transport on the major rivers and along the coasts plays a growing role in freight and passenger traffic. Except for the Yalu and Taredong rivers, most of the inland waterways, totaling 2,250 kilometers, are navigable only by small boats. Coastal traffic is heaviest on the eastern seaboard, whose deeper waters can accommodate larger vessels. The major ports are Nampho on the west coast and Rajin, Chongjin, Wonsan, and Hamhung on the east coast. The country's harbor loading capacity in the 1990s was estimated at almost 35 million tons a year. There is a continuing investment in upgrading and expanding port facilities, developing transportation, particularly on the Taredong River, and increasing the share of international cargo by domestic vessels. Merchant marine. In the early 1990s, North Korea possessed an ocean-going merchant fleet, largely domestically produced, of 68 ships, totaling 465,801 gross registered tons, which included 58 cargo ships and 2 tankers. As of 2008, this has increased to a total of 167 vessels consisting mainly of cargo and tanker ships. Air transport. North Korea's international air connections are limited in frequency and numbers. As of 2011, scheduled flights operate only from Pyongyang's Pyongyang-Sunan International Airport to Beijing, Dalian, Shenyang, Shanghai, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, Moscow, Khabarovsk, Vladivostok, and Kuwait International Airport. Charters to other destinations operate as per demand. Prior to 1995, many routes to Eastern Europe were operated, including services to Sofia, Belgrade, Prague, Budapest, along with others. Air Koryo is the country's national airline. Air China also operates flights between Beijing and Pyongyang. In 2013, Mi-18 Mongolian Airlines began operating direct charter services from Ulaanbaatar to Pyongyang with Boeing 737-800 aircraft. Internal flights are available between Pyongyang, Hamhung, Hareju, Hungnam, Kaesong, Kangye, Kilju, Najin, Nampo, Sinuiju, Samji-yon, Wonsan, Songjin and Chongjin. All civil aircraft are operated by Air Koryo, which has a fleet of 19 passenger and cargo aircraft, all of which were all Soviet and recently modern Russian models. As of 2013, the CIA estimates that North Korea has 82 usable airports, 39 of which have permanent surface runways.